Think about the last time you told a story about your childhood. You saw it clearly. The colors, the faces, the feeling in your chest. It felt like a recording, like pressing play on something that really happened, exactly as you remembered it. But it wasn't a recording. It never was. And the science of what your brain actually did to that memory is one of the most unsettling things you will ever learn about yourself. Your memory is not a camera. It is not a hard drive. It is not an archive. Every single time you remember something, your brain is not playing back a file. It is rebuilding the event from scratch, piece by piece, in real time, using whatever fragments it can find, filling in the gaps with guesses, with emotions, with things you learned after the fact. You are not remembering the past. You are constructing it. And here is what makes it stranger. Every time you rebuild a memory, you change it. Slightly, subtly, sometimes dramatically. You don't notice. It still feels true. But the version you are walking around with right now is not the version you stored 10 years ago. It is a copy of a copy of a copy, each one drifting further from whatever actually happened. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus has spent more than 50 years studying exactly this. Her findings are alarming. In one of her most famous experiments, she asked participants to recall a car accident using subtly different language. When she asked how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other, people remembered much higher speeds than when she used the word contacted. Same accident, same people, different word, different memory. The language she used after the event rewrote what they believed they saw. She called this the Misinformation Effect. And it is not rare. It is not a glitch in broken minds. It is a fundamental feature of how human memory works, in every brain, including yours. Your brain did not evolve to be accurate. That is the part nobody tells you. Accuracy is expensive. It requires enormous amounts of energy and storage to record events with perfect fidelity. Evolution does not reward that. Evolution rewards survival. And for survival, what matters is not whether you remember exactly what happened. What matters is whether you remember the emotional lesson. Was that animal dangerous? Was that person trustworthy? Was that food safe? Your brain compresses events into feelings, into meaning, into survival signals. The exact details are optional. This is why your most vivid memories are almost never accurate. The vivid feeling is not a sign that the memory is reliable. It is actually a warning. High emotion memories are the most heavily reconstructed. The more it mattered to you, the more your brain worked to shape that memory into something useful, something that confirmed what you already believed, something that fit the story you were telling about yourself. Neuroscientist Karim Nader discovered something that shocked the scientific community in 2000. He found that every time a memory is recalled, it becomes temporarily unstable. The proteins that hold it in place in your brain actually dissolve. The memory has to be rebuilt and restored all over again. This process is called reconsolidation, and during that window, the memory is vulnerable. New information can get in. Emotions from the present moment can get in. What you want to believe can get in. And then it gets locked back down as if nothing happened, as if it had always been exactly that way. So every time you have remembered something, you have also changed it, and you had no idea. The memory felt just as real afterward. Maybe more real, because you added more emotion, more detail, more certainty with each telling. Think about a story you have told many times, a funny moment, a difficult one, a defining one. The first few times it might have had rough edges, uncertainty, but over time it smoothed out. It got sharper, more vivid, more coherent. Not because you were getting closer to the truth, because you were telling a better story, and your brain stored the story. This is why eyewitness testimony is one of the least reliable forms of evidence in a courtroom, despite feeling like the most reliable. A person who watched something happen, who is completely certain of what they saw, who would stake their life on it, can still be wrong in ways they cannot detect. Researcher Gary Wells has spent decades documenting wrongful convictions, where eyewitness certainty led to the imprisonment of innocent people. The witnesses were not lying. They genuinely believed what they said. Their brains had reconstructed something that felt like truth. And false memories do not just drift gradually. They can be implanted, fully formed, out of nothing. Loftus demonstrated this too. In studies called the Lost in the Mall experiments, researchers convinced adult participants that they had gotten lost in a shopping mall as a child. It never happened. But after a few conversations, a large portion of participants began to remember it. They added details, feelings, sensory images. They became emotional talking about it. Some even resisted being told it was false because the memory felt so real. Your brain cannot always tell the difference between something that happened and something you imagined vividly enough, or something someone described to you in detail, or something you dreamed and half remembered in the morning. The feeling of remembering and the feeling of confabulating, of filling gaps with invented material, can be identical. There is no inner alarm that goes off to tell you which is which. This is where it gets deeply personal, because your sense of who you are is built almost entirely on memory. The story of your childhood, your relationships, your failures and victories, the moments that made you who you are. All of it is memory. And all of it has been reconstructed. All of it has been shaped by emotion, by repetition, by what you needed to believe at the time. The shy kid who was always overlooked might remember their childhood very differently from a sibling who grew up in the same house. Not because one is lying, because memory is not objective. It is authored, and you are the author, even when you don't realize you're writing. Psychologist Daniel Schachter has cataloged what he calls the 7 sins of memory: transience, absent-mindedness, blocking, misattribution, suggestibility, bias, and persistence. 7 ways memory fails, 7 ways it distorts. And the most revealing of these might be bias. Your brain rewrites the past to match your present beliefs. If you now believe you were always brave, your memories will quietly shift to support that. If you now believe your relationship was doomed from the start, your memories will find the evidence that was always there. The past bends to fit the present. This is not weakness. This is not something wrong with you. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, managing a coherent sense of self across time, keeping your story consistent, making meaning out of chaos. The problem is only that you believe the story is a transcript. It is not. It is an interpretation. It is a novel that gets quietly revised every time you open it. You walk around every day inside a version of your life that is partly real and partly constructed. The people you love are filtered through memory that has shifted. The grudges you carry might be built on details that warped somewhere along the way. The version of yourself you defend so fiercely might be protecting a story that never quite happened the way you think. And here is the part that should stop you cold. You cannot go back and check. The original is gone. There is no pristine copy stored somewhere that you can compare against. The only version that exists is the one you have been rebuilding and reshaping for years. The past, your past, exists only in the present, in the reconstruction, in the story. Tonight, when a memory surfaces, that flash of certainty, that feeling of this is exactly how it was, pause for just a moment. Notice the feeling, not the content, the feeling of certainty itself. That feeling is real, but it is not the same as accuracy. Your brain made something feel true. That is what it does. That is what it has always done. The same brain that built a false memory with total conviction is the one writing your story right now. And it has been writing it all along. You just never noticed.